Hi folks, welcome back to Jeff Rose Outdoor Extremes and another aviation related video. Got two missions today. One, I had a small leak at my reduction drive and I thought I had fixed it. Anyway, I'll show you that when I get there. And the second reason today is I want to do some circuit practice. And it's not that I need practice at circuits, but I want to practice getting it on the center line and trying to keep it on the center line, because next weekend we're planning to go to a fly-in on what I call the narrowest runway in the Ottawa Valley, Iroquois. This will be my first time landing there with the tail dragger, so a little more attention to detail is going to be needed. And it's not like it's not like everybody watches every landing, but when I come over the top of the Mazda rotary, everybody was, what the hell is that? They'll be watching. So, got to do my best. I thought it was leaking here at the oil return. So I replaced this coupler, which gave me a little bit of extra space here between the starter and that oil tee. It's not a lot of space, but believe me, that's twice the amount of space that used to be there. But I flew it and it was still leaking, so. But when I took the drive off, this secondary ring here, spacer ring, cup, stayed with the back, stayed with the mounting plate. And this ring had never come off before, so the fact that this was, the connection between here and here was loose. I'm now 90% sure that that's where the leak was. It was leaking here. When I looked the last time, there was a little bit of oil sitting in that little space there. So anyway, proof of the pies in the pudding. Ground testing didn't show any leaks. I got to take it up, fly it, do at least one circuit, maybe two, come back and check it, take the top cowl off, check it, see what I see. Okay, well, here we go for a couple of circuits. And the main reason is centerline landing and holding it on the center. Two aircraft in the circuit. We've got a Waco biplane and we've got a Cessna 150 I'm holding for. And we'll get this show on the road. So this is the first of two landings, trying to get it on the center line as close as possible. Hold it on the center line. Bit of a crosswind. Not too much. But it's also, if I can get it down before I get past most of the buildings, the crosswind becomes almost not an issue. Well, that ain't perfect, but it's not too bad. First landing, the crosswind affected me more than I expected. And that landing there, I dropped it on from a couple feet in the air. A little bit of a rough landing, but as far as landing on the center line and directional control is concerned, pretty good. Anyway, the goal now is to go back to hangar and check to see if I got any oil leaks. Okay, so moment of truth. Get the cowls off, pull the pins, and we'll see about the oil situation. Well, I think it's still leaking a little bit. There's oil here. I was thinking suspicion that it's leaking out of these holes here. But those are, that's some kind of assembly internal to the drive. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Traffic, Foxtrot 2, Whiskey, Whiskey, terminal final, runway 28, full stop. I'll be exiting at Alpha, carb traffic. Okay, I guess third time's the charm. That's definitely the best landing of the day. Put it down on the money and I stayed on the money. Yippee-ki-yay. Pumps off. Wait for a spit. Ignition off. There we go. Down, shut her down. Have one more look under the cowl. See about oil. Yeah, so I've flown this a couple times, and both times it indicates that there's an oil leak, and it's somewhere at the drive. I don't know exactly, but it's in the drive. The drive's got to come off, so I've taken the spinner off. I'm going to take the prop off so I can get out the drive easier, and then I'm going to see if I can plug the oil return to the engine and plug the vent on the top of the drive, and see if I can put a moderate pressure in there. 5 to 10 pounds. This is not supposed to be a pressurized vessel, the redrive itself, despite the fact that you're putting oil in there under pressure at 80 psi, but it's supposed to go in, splash the gears, and go out the bottom. But a lot of the guys in the fly rotary forum have said that this thing is actually filling with oil, and so it is running at a modest pressure to begin with. So 5 to 10 psi, I think I can get away with. We'll go with 5 first. And I've got some soap and water. I'll see if I can see where it's leaking. Okay, so got a sifter valve, got the vent plugged, got the return plugged. Everything else is plugged. I'm gonna put a little bit of air pressure in here. See what I see. Okay, so what I see are air bubbles right there. So the drive leaking internally. So somehow oil is getting out through these bolt holes. All right. Well, I got no choice but to take it off, take it apart one more time, and see if I can tell what the issue is. I have no idea why that's leaking, but it most certainly is. Okay, so this is the inner workings of the drive. You can see the ring gear, and these are the six planet gears. This is the O-ring I was concerned about. Now, I took this apart before. There was a subtle bulge in this O-ring, and it's right in this area here. I can feel it with my finger. So I have ordered a new one, but it's really not, it's not the actual issue at this moment. The problem is down below. Take the planet gears out and the thrust bearing. You see in the first video it was leaking around those screws, and there's 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in here. Oil is getting past these screws out through the front in here. So they're either really loose, so they either said they're loose, or they need some kind of a thread sealant. Yeah, that's loose as can be. Oh my God. These screws are as loose as a goose. I can't believe it. How in the hell? That's the reason why the drive's leaking. O-ring, though it was got a slight bulge in it, is not the issue. At least I know I've found the problem. The solution is something is the next step. So, but man alive, I don't know whether these should be put back in with Loctite, some kind of or just a thread sealant like RTV that we're looking at. Man alive. Well, they're not very long. I'm definitely going to put Loctite on them. And we'll shove that into the hole. So I've done those 4 holes, and I got those 4 bolts soaking in the lacquer thinner. So I'll take those out, put this 248 Loctite I've got on here and put those 4 in, and then I'll repeat the process with the other 4 that are still in there. And given that these seem to have not been put in with Loctite before, theoretically, if they were put into the right torque, that should be all I have to do. But I'm going to go with Loctite. I'll just put them in so that they're a little bit snug. And when I get them all in, I'll torque all of them down. Put this on. Try to keep most of the silicone to the outside. Now, but you do have to go all the way around the bolt holes. And here's a tip that you can take or leave that I got from a fellow more knowledgeable than me. He said the proper way to do this is you put the silicone on like that, put your parts together, and then tighten the bolts up just till this silicone starts to squeeze out around the edge in a uniform way. Just put the bolts on just barely snug and stop. Then come back the next day, 12 hours, overnight, whatever, and then torque all your bolts down. Because you're making a gasket. You want a certain amount of this material to be left behind. And if you put it all together and squeeze it down and torque it all in one motion, you're potentially squeezing almost all of the silicone out. So you're better to squeeze it a bit, let it settle and harden, and then torque it. And another thing related to this particular application, what I'm doing here is with my finger, I'm putting a little bit of oil on this mating surface. And though that may sound counterintuitive to some, it really doesn't interfere with the seal, because again, you're making a gasket, and the gasket material will still be between the reduction drive part and this mounting plate. But that thin film of oil on there, its purpose is to enable you to actually get the drive off again, because it's difficult enough to get off. It just helps to facilitate removal when the time comes. The other thing I do here to put this thing back on is, these bolts are long, but I leave 2 sticking out, protruding further. And I do that by, in behind here, I got a stick of wood that stops these two bolts from being able to be pushed in. These are already pushed in. But these will stick out, and I can get those. If I can get those two bolts started, the rest will line up. I need this elevated perch so that I can look down and line up these two bolt holes. Okay, there we go. I've got to turn the flywheel a little bit to mesh the input shaft with the gears. And then the next most important thing is, once you've got that on there, this engine turns over easily. You gotta turn this over by hand. It doesn't take a lot of force. You can stand here by hand and turn the drive. That is key. So now looking closely here, you can see it's just the thinnest film of RTV squeezed out all the way around. Now I can go around. I got 4 bolts snugged up, one here, one here, one here, one here. And go around and snug the rest of them. But again, not overly tightened. Okay, everybody's just a little bit snug. It's 7:15 in the morning, and I'm on my way to work for 8 o'clock. I'm gonna leave it, and then come back at 5 o'clock, and then I can, 10 hours from now, that should give time for that RTV to set. Then I can come back and torque it. That bluish tint in there, that's the RTV on the threads. No excuse for leaks now. Now this propeller and this engine aren't linked the way they are with a Lycoming, where the propeller has to be put on in a certain way in relationship to the compression stroke. Not the case with the Mazda engine, because the compression stroke occurs at random intervals in the rotation. The propeller and the backing plate and this crush plate are balanced to themselves, and the spinner. Got them torqued to 25 foot-pounds. I'm going to take them all up to 30. When I do that, I want to torque them at the same point so that I can get the best reading off the dial here. These are AN bolts, but I drilled them myself, so I'm looking at the best alignment for the safety wire. And the safety wire has to go on so that it put in an S pattern, so that if this bolt tries to loosen, it pulls on the safety wire and tightens this nut, therefore stopping this one from moving. Okay, that's one. That's one, and there's your S pattern. It pulls from here to there. So if this tries to loosen this way, this wire is going to get tighter and it's going to tighten that bolt. Okay. This is all torqued down and safety wired. Now we'll just spin the engine. She's low torque. Doesn't take... You can hear the compression stroke. Alright, she's ready to have the cowls put on and test flight. Alright, here we go. All buttoned up. Ready for the proof of the pie. Take it for one more rip just to prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that we got no leaks. Okay, took it for a short 20-minute flight. Buzzed the house to wake up my wife with the 13B alarm clock. Gotta take the cowls off and confirm we got no oil leaks. Let's have a look. Oh, look at that. Clean as clean can be. All right. I like it. We are good to go. Good to go. Yippee-ki-yay.